Well, I've just arrived at Mount Manaia, which is up there, and I'm super excited about today's adventure because, well, I've actually already been here. I was just here last week actually, and yeah, kind of came here just for a bit of a walk with my wife, and I came across heaps of new species, which is really quite exciting, like ones that I haven't actually come across before. And yeah, like we're not actually that far away from the other places that I've been in the previous videos, but despite that, this place seems to be very ecologically distinct, even though it's so close. So yeah, really excited about this. And yeah, of course there are still going to be a lot of the kind of same species that I've shown you in the previous videos, because some plants are just super cosmopolitan around New Zealand. I don't know if that's the right word. They're widespread, so you're still going to come across the usual Coprosma macrocarpa there for Northland. It is Northland only, I think, maybe down to Auckland. Otherwise it's usually Robusta that you'll come across elsewhere. But yeah, Coprosma arborea. What else have we got? We've got a few Kaikatea seedlings growing here. These are quite cool because they have dimorphic leaves, so when they get older they become kind of more scale-like and pressed up against the branchlets rather than these kind of feather-like leaves that you see here. And yeah, it's a little bit higher up the mountain that we start seeing the more unique species. So just down the base here you see the usual things. We've got some Corphi there, probably Chathamika, not too sure. Kawakawa, Piper excelsum, Coprosma areolata, the thin-leaved Coprosma, Mahoe, got a cabbage tree there. So yeah, all the all the usual ones. Very cool. That's a very large Coprosma areolata leaf. I haven't seen them that big before. Interesting. Anyways, what else have we got here? Lots of ferns. I mean, I'd have to take a closer look and spend some time to ID them. I'm not the best with knowing the ferns off by heart just yet. I've spent most of my time learning the broadleaf species. We've got Geniostoma largus trifolium, Podocarpus totara. Pretty sure it's totara. Apparently you can tell based on the leaf bud at the end there, and if it's wider than the stem below it, then it is Podocarpus latus, or the Hall's totara. But this one has a small one, a small leaf bud, so Podocarpus totara. What else have we got? Got a Coprosma rhamnoides, I think. Not too sure. Apparently there's a Coprosma rubra on this mountain as well. I haven't seen it, or at least I don't think I've seen it. Got some Hoheria growing down there. Hoheria paponia. That looks like a kiki actually. Got that serrated margin to it, toothed margin. Freycinidia banksii, Thyrimachiton spectabilis, and Myrcene australis in the Primulaceae family. It's very interesting, the Adiantum fern here that's gone red. I don't know if that's due to being exposed to too much sunlight or if that's just fresh growth is red. Not too sure. We've got here the Stribulus heterophyllus. You can tell why it's called heterophyllus. It's got these very kind of varying leaf shapes. So hetero meaning different, and phyllis being leaves. It's in the Moraceae family, which is the mulberry family. The more you know, go figure. I don't think their fruit look like mulberries, but that just goes to show how variable species can be within a particular family. Well, even within a particular genus you get a huge amount of variability, but yeah. What else have we got around here? We've got a Cyathea dealbata. Well, I mean, that's that's what I always remembered it as, because that's what it used to be called, but it's been since renamed to Alsophila tricolor. We've got Rhopalostylus sapida, the Nical palm. So we've got Corionocarpus laevigatus within its own family, Corionocarpaceae. Well, this is a species that I didn't actually come across last week when I was here. This is Ranunculus reflexus, or maruru. It's a native buttercup in the Ranunculaceae family. And yeah, super hairy, kind of fuzzy leaves. And all around it there's also an orchid here. This is the silverback spider orchid. And I know that because I did find a flower somewhere. That's really tricky with these, because the flowers are actually, they tend to grow below the leaf, which is a little bit annoying because it makes it very hard to get a good shot of the orchid. Just seeing if I can find a better example for you here. Well, for example, I can see some, this here is a extension of one of the flowers. I've got these long kind of things. Here's a flower here actually. It is happening to go above the leaf. As I said, super tricky to get a good shot of it. I will try and get a better one later on. I'm sure I'll come across plenty more of these that are more exposed, but there's one there. Very cool. And we've got another native here. This is Rhabdothamnus cylindrii. It's in the Gesneriaceae family. It's the only species in New Zealand from this family. They've got pretty distinct flowers. Here's one here. Kind of big bell-shaped orange. This one's quite yellow actually, but usually they're more orangey pink flowers. And I think I mentioned in a previous video the scabbard leaf. This one's quite sandpapery, so that's quite cool. We do have another species here, the Coriaria arborea. It's the tree tutu. Very toxic. It's got quite a strange tree. The trunk kind of seems to stay green the whole way down, which is a bit unique. And these very close set opposite leaves here. And I did see some flowers somewhere. Where were they? Over here. Here's some. So these are the flowers here. Apparently you can eat the petals on these, I think. Don't quote me on it. The rest of the plant is poisonous, extremely so, so be careful with that. It's in the Coriariaceae family. It's the sole genus. I believe there's around 14 species. Most of them, or the majority, tend to be in New Zealand, but there are some in South America. I think there's one in the Himalayas, and also a couple in Europe. But it seems like most of the diversity of this family, the Coriariaceae family, is in New Zealand, which is quite cool. A very distinct growth form. It's almost got like a Christmas tree shape if you look at it from afar. There we go, we've got a tree daisy here. This is Brachyglottis repunda. Pretty cool plant. And a Schefflera digitata, a Ralliaceae, 7-finger, but I mean they never, these 7 and 5 fingers never really stick to the number of fingers that we tell them to, so don't count on the number of leaflets for identifying this. That's a bit unique. Is it just a supplejack? I feel like that's a supplejack. Yeah. It's just looking a bit funny. Ripogonum scandens. I believe that's a clematis down there. Couldn't tell you which one though. It appears to be climbing. I mean, that might be a Cody seedling, Agathis australis. Missing most of its leaves though. I've got a really weird acacia here, Metrosideros perforata. I haven't seen them with such kind of distinctly cordate leaves, but there you have it. Pretty weird. Pretty certain it's acacia based on the very glandular bottom to it. Glandular punctate, I think the term is for that. But yeah, interesting. Alright, well, pretty sure this is actually Sephora microphylla. I mentioned Sephora chathamica at the beginning. Maybe it was one back there. I mean, it's not unlikely that they're both here on Mount Manaia, so we'll have to have another check when we get back. We've also got Carpodatus serratus here, the marble leaf, or puta puta weta, and this is in the Rusiaceae family, which happens to be in the Asterales order, so closely related to the sunflower family, the asters. But yeah, pretty cool. Alright, we've got a Electrion excelsa or excelsis here, I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah, Titoki, it's in the Sapondaceae family. It's one of two native species within this family. The other one is Akiaki, the Dodonia viscosa. I did see one of these kind of at the very base before I started filming. I'll have to get some footage of that to chuck on the screen here for you. But yeah, this is the soapberry family, Sapondaceae, and it includes species such as lychee. And if you saw the fruit of this, you would actually see some kind of resemblance to those other more edible fruit. Though I'm pretty sure this one is toxic, so keep that in mind. I've got a little seedling here, and I'm not 100% sure what it is. It couldn't possibly be the Northland horopito. I don't have internet right now, so I can't actually double check the characteristics, but yeah, we've got alternating leaves. I believe the Northland horopito has like a white fuzzy bottom to it, a abaxial surface of the leaf, so probably not. Not sure. It's got these very distinct red petioles as well, if that's a giveaway. It's probably something very obvious and I'm just having a mind blank, but yeah, not sure. You know what? It's probably just a very young Karaka, Corinocarpus laevigatus. I've just noticed that the very base of the petioles on this seedling are red, so maybe when they're younger it goes red, kind of extends up towards the base of the leaf. Not sure. But yeah, probably just one of these. Well, you probably recognise this from just typical gardens. I see them all the time in kind of council gardens around the place, but it actually is a native. This is Arthropodium serratum, and yeah, ringa ringa. Let's get a zoom in on that flower there. The Asparagaceae family, so closely related to asparagus, but also closely related to, I can't see any right now, I was going to point out a cabbage tree, but cabbage trees, or cordyline, are also in the asparagus family as well. The more you know. Now, unfortunately, the internet is really bad up here, so I can't actually double check these plants that I'm IDing, and I'll have to make sure that I'm making the right call when I get back home, when I have internet again. But this is a Carmichaelia species, the New Zealand brooms. I'm just going to guess that it's probably Carmichaelia australis, which is kind of the common one. It's in the Fabaceae family, so the pea family. Looks nothing like it, but that's because the leaves are absent. So this plant has photosynthetic stems instead. So you can see the stems are green, so they do all the photosynthesizing, which is pretty strange. I guess kind of similar to our tanikaha celery pine, that's also doesn't have leaves. They just photosynthesize by flattened green branchlets called phyllodes, I believe the word is for it. It's kind of like a leaf-like stem, so that's what we've got here. We've also got bush lawyer, Rubus cassoides. Yeah, we've got palmately compound ones, 5 leaflets. Sometimes you just get 3 leaflets on these, but this one has 5, and it's now caught my hand. So yeah, it is a native raspberry. It's got thorns. It's called bush lawyer for a reason. But yeah, it's got quite a thick stem on it. So that's the stem growing there, pretty robust. Actually, that's even thicker. Look at that. So these do get quite high up into the canopy sometimes. And our second orchid of the day, we've got tutu kiwi, Pterostylis banksii. I do know that there's a lot more of them further up. Well, here's a cool one. This is a club moss in the Lycopodiaceae family, which is actually more closely related to ferns than mosses because it is a vascular plant, so it has its own internal plumbing. You would be forgiven if you accidentally thought that this was like a rimu branch or something hanging down. It does look very kind of rimu-like, but it is a club moss, and yeah, I believe it's Phlegmariurus or something. I'm not sure about the species name, but Phlegmariurus is the genus. And yeah, you can see that it actually continues down here a bit. Let's see if I can get a look at this. A little bit further down, the leaves are becoming more scale-like, which is interesting. So this is the same plant, but very scale-like leaves down here compared to the more rimu-like leaves up there. And I have been seeing a lot of these tiny little astellias growing, and I don't know if it's just a small species or if they're just young, but I haven't seen any big ones, just small ones. Here's a cool one. This is Griselinia lucida. You can see that it's got a very uneven base. I can't quite remember the fancy terminology for where one side of the base is different to the other, but there you have it, Griselinia lucida. It's in the Griseliniaceae family, alongside a few other species, 2 in New Zealand, I believe. There's also Littoralis here. The lucida is more of a climber, whereas Littoralis is more of a bush or tree. And I think Littoralis also doesn't have as prominent of a uneven base. It's a little bit more uniform. But yeah, I think there's some other species in South America as well, but just those species in the Griseliniaceae family, so it's quite a small family. So I've just spotted a baby grey warbler that looks like it's fallen out of its nest. So that's not too good. Hopefully its parents are around to continue feeding it before it can fly, but yeah, currently it looks like it's stuck on the ground. And it's a wee way away from me actually. I'm not going to go climbing through there to try help it because I won't be able to help it anyway. But hopefully it's all good. Very cute. Yeah, I can hear the parents now. So the parents are around. It'll hopefully be all good. Alright, and we've got another Metrosideros here. This is Metrosideros fulgens. And yeah, also a Pseudopanax arboreus. You can see because the serrations on it are much more jagged than that of Schefflera digitata that we saw earlier. I've got a huge lot of peperomia here. It's pretty wild. It's almost almost covering this entire rock. Peperomia erviliana. We've seen this in quite a few of the previous videos, but heaps of flowers on this one. If there were some fruit and seeds, I'd probably take a few to try and grow some, because it's pretty cool. And we could have a native peperomia growing in a pot beside our exotic one at home. Very neat. Typical habitat of it, growing on a rock like this. I wonder if this is a single plant that's just continued to spread. That's very likely. Well, I mean, we do have a second littler plant right there, but a bit of a gap in between. We've got some very funky looking mushrooms here. They do look a little bit spent, but very interesting. A very thick white stalk onto there. No idea what's happening there, but very strange. Alright, we've got another orchid here. This is the pixie cap. It's a Achianthus genus, I believe. Don't remember the species name. The flowers on this species seem to be spent wherever I find them. They've already kind of finished forming the seeds and releasing them as well, I believe. But yeah, Pretty cool. I did find another orchid further back, but I didn't know it was an orchid. I posted a picture on iNaturalist and someone said that it's a onion orchid, so I'll get some shots of that when I head back down, because I've kind of walked very far past it, but someone has already ID'd it for me, which is very kind. Let's see what else we can find. We're getting a bit higher up now, so may come across some extra things, some of the cool stuff. We'll see how we go. Alright, we've got here Scandia rosifolia. It's in the Apiaceae family, so that is the celery family, or also the carrots as well. So it does kind of have that sort of leaf form to it. It's pinnately compound. It's just got these way bigger, more leaf-like leaves on it. Pretty cool. And I'm guessing the rosifolia is referring to kind of rose-shaped leaflets, or rose leaf shaped leaflets. You got that kind of serrated margin on it, and yeah, I think I hear a tomtit. Very cool. Alright, so this is Mesipterus lanceolata. It's in the Silitaceae family, which is kind of the more basal ferns. It's not a leptosporangia. It's a eusporangiate fern, and you can see these kind of fork-like leaves, and you'll notice that the sporophyll leaves, I'm just going to grab one if we can. Let's see. At the base of it, so you can see it's a forked leaf, there's two leaf things. They're not true leaves, I don't believe, but at the base you got that fused sporangia there, so there's two sporangia there fused into a single synangia. So you can see it's kind of that round shape there with a bit of a groove in the middle. So there's two separate sporangia making a synangia. And then this is, I think it's called a sporophyll, the leaves that kind of attach onto the synangia. But yeah, pretty funky. We've kind of come out to this opening here on a boardwalk, and I believe the boardwalk is to protect this great big Cody tree, the Agathis australis, from Cody dieback. So we're on this boardwalk, keeping our dirty soil covered shoes away from the roots, and yeah, pretty cool. There's a few species out here in the open. We've got a bit of sunlight coming through. I think that's because a few branches have broken off this Cody probably during Cyclone Gabriel, to be honest. Some big branches that have fallen. It's opened out a bit of sunlight to come through to the forest floor, and we've got some new stuff popping up, which is cool. I've got quite a few Veronicas here. We've got a Libertia species here, and the genus is Libertia. I'm not really sure of its grandiflora or ixioides. Not too sure. We've also got a Pictanopides ferruginea, the meadow tree, another podocarp there. I'm guessing there's actually two species of Veronica here, because we've got one with huge leaves, and then one with much smaller or shorter leaves as well. So I don't know my Veronicas too well, unfortunately. I should really try and learn those. I've got a Caprosma macrocarpa there. Yeah, pretty cool. Some big Astelias growing in the mix there, and also a Pseudopanax crassifolius, the lancewood Hodoeca, just a seedling here with those long linear leaves, and yeah, Olearia furfuracea right there. And there you go, you've actually got some adult Pseudopanax crassifolius leaves there. You can see they're a lot shorter and more green compared to these dark, almost blackish brown coloured leaves of the juvenile. Pretty cool. So that would have been up in the canopy at some point, but it obviously got knocked down by the Cody branch that fell. So we've got some nice low adult leaves to look at, which is quite handy. So usually you don't see those adult leaves because they're just high up in the canopy. So this is another one that I don't come across too often up in Northland outside of people's gardens, because it is commonly planted in people's gardens. This is Pittosporum eugenioides, or lemonwood tarata, and it's called lemonwood because you can, if you crush up the leaves, it does have quite a citrusy, lemony smell to it, which is quite cool. But yeah, there's another Pittosporum for you. What else have we got around here? Lots of Coprosma arborea. I suppose they're less of a shade tolerant species, so that gap in the canopy is really helping them. Got some great big astellias there, probably Hastata, the great big tank lily. And we've got here, looks like Coprosma grandifolia or autumnalis. I feel like it maybe got changed back at some point recently, so I'm not 100% sure. You got that mottled leaf coloration to it, which is a giveaway of the Kanono. And we've got Nestigius here. I think it's Nestigius lanceolata, the white maire, opposite leaves, but a lot more coriaceous than that of Tawa. I believe there are some Tawa near here, so we'll keep a lookout for that as well, the Belschmidtia Tawa. So they're not closely related to Nestigius, but they do have those kind of long, almost linear opposite leaves. And another podocarp here, we've got Dicradium capressinum, the rimu tree. Just a young one. Well, man, to be honest, probably quite old still, but yeah, very nice. Alright, and we've got another Pittosporum here. I know this looks nothing like the eugenioides that we saw before. This is Pittosporum umbellatum. Can't remember the Tadeo name for this one. Pretty distinct. The young leaves are quite fairy and covered in a brown tomentum along the branchlets, but otherwise elliptic shaped leaves and very prominent veins on there as well. I also ran into some people that are working on this mountain, and they mentioned that they were working with the Northland Horopito, which I have not seen. Apparently it's a little bit kind of off the beaten track a bit, unfortunately, so I probably won't get any shots of that, which I'm a little bit sad about, but that's all good. I've got to protect them. And yeah, they also mentioned that there is a ramarama, which is Lophomertus bollata, I believe it is, and that I think they said that's a little bit closer to the track, so I am going to be keeping my eye out for that, because that would be quite a cool one. I haven't seen ramarama before, or the Northland Horopito, so, but I don't think I'm going to see that one today. But there is hope for the ramarama. Keep an eye out. And yet another Pittosporum. This is Pittosporum ellipticum. It's quite similar looking to the umbellatum, but you can see these young leaves are quite kind of brown and fuzzy. They look quite cool. Yeah, and this is commonly found growing in Cody trees, or Cody dominant forests, which we've got a lot of up here, so fits the description. Alright, well, we've got this divaricating shrub here, and I'm pretty sure that it's Rokawa anomalous. If we can get that to focus. The base of the leaves there, you see it's got kind of like a dark blotch to it. Other plants that kind of are a bit similar is the Melicitis, is it Melicitis micranthus, which has a white blotch at the base, but this one's a darker blotch, so I believe it's Rokawa anomalous. But I am going to be posting this on iNaturalist, so hopefully I get a hit on what it definitely is, but that's my best guess. And these leaves are tiny, by the way. Just put my hand there for reference. Alright, so we've got confirmation of which species of Clematis this is. This is Clematis cunninghamii, and that's based on the flowers, obviously. That's what's helped me determine which species it is. Very cool. This plant is covered in them as well. Lots of flowers. And the leaves are these, as usual, the trifoliate leaves. You can see that in the background there. Alright, well, here's a cool one. This is Quintinia serrata. It's in the Paracryphiaceae family. Also happens to be in its own order, Paracryphiales. And yeah, leaves look quite distinct, although also somewhat similar to kind of like a juvenile Rewerewe, Natia excelsa, though these are darker and also quite blotchy, and they've got more of a wavy margin to them as well, an undulating margin I should say. And yeah, quite a cool plant. Alright, so for comparison, this is Natia excelsa, so quite a bit different from Quintinia serrata, but otherwise you could perhaps get it mistaken. This one's quite a lot lighter green in colour and less of those red kind of blotches all over it. And the margin is not undulating, it is serrated, but it's not wavy, as you can see there. But yeah, otherwise kind of that same, it's just over there, the Quintinia serrata actually. Kind of similar, kind of long, linear, oblong leaves on both of these. And I have spotted the Ramarama, Lophomyrtus bullata. So this is in the Myrtaceae family, and it is getting decimated by myrtle rust. The populations of it throughout New Zealand are anyway. I don't think this one's got any myrtle rust on it. But yeah, an extremely distinct species. It's got these very, well, it's called bullate when it looks like this kind of like a warty, lumpy leaf. That's a bullate leaf. We do talk about this in my plant identification series, so definitely check that out if you want to learn more about the fun bits of terminology for describing plants. But otherwise, yeah, Lophomyrtus bullata, kind of the bullate-leaved Lophomyrtus. Ramarama. Hopefully we don't get any myrtle rust killing off this tree as well. I did see one further down the track that was quite severely, well, it was pretty dead. The entire trunk was gone. It was just a bare trunk and bare branches, but there was a few individual leaves kind of sprouting out at the very base of it. And we're just going to keep this one in mind for later. This is Leucopogon fasciculatus, the tall mingi-mingi. Because at the top of the mountain, we're not too far away. I've been out here for a couple of hours now, but I'm stopping every 5 minutes or every 5 steps to be honest, to look at plants. But yeah, there's another species up the top that's kind of in the same group as this, another mingi-mingi, and it's quite a cool one. So we'll check that out when we get up the top. Well, look at this. So you may remember the Gristolinia lucida that I mentioned before. That's the stem of it growing up the side of this rock face here at the top of Mount Manaia. You can see the leaves up there as well. But yeah, a very impressive vine. And there's the first Coprosma lucida that I've seen. So the first kind of large-leaved Coprosma that's not macrocarpa. There was a Manuka here at some point. It's dead now. There's a few of them actually. They're all dead. Leptospermum scoparium. And up here, there's the relative of this is very hard to do with one hand. Here's the relative of the Leucopogon fasciculatus, the tall mingi-mingi. This one is Leptocophila something or other, can't remember, and I don't think I've got internet to check what it's called, but yeah, this is the prickly mingi-mingi. So closely related, not in the same genus though, it's Leptocophila rather than Leucopogon, but otherwise very closely related. Ericaceae family, it's the blueberry family. But I believe these are both in the same subfamily as well, the Epacrid something or other. Epacroideae, I don't know. But yeah, there's your little blueberry-like things on the end there. I believe they go white rather than blue once they're ripe. But otherwise, pretty cool. Leptocophila. And I'll have the species name on the screen for you. Got some Astalias here. I'll be honest, I don't know my Astalias that well. I've got some fruit here. And on the underside it's very... Sorry plant, I just folded you a bit abruptly. But yeah, so that's the underside there, very white, and I wouldn't say it's fluffy, but it's probably an adaptation to the wind up here because it gets extremely windy. Well, at least it was last time I was up here. What a stunning view. I mean, the view does get better though. Can't see much from this angle, but otherwise very high up, and not sure what that is over there. Got a patch of dead ground. I mean, the grass around it's pretty dead as well. It's pretty sad monoculture, but I'm not sure what's going on in that kind of brown patch there. Anyways, what have we got? That's about it. Not really sure what this thing is. I was looking at this earlier. Definitely an Asteraceae, but I'll have to try and ID it, and I'll let you know. Okay, well I double checked and it is Senecio hispidulus, so it is Asteraceae, and it's called the fireweed, I believe. There you can see kind of the basal leaves, very deeply lobed. Can't remember what the word is for that, but yeah, Senecio hispidulum, or hispidulus, I've already forgotten. Alright, check this one out. So this is a Pomaderus species, so it's related to Kumaraho, which is the gum digger's soap. That's Pomaderus Kumaraho, whereas this one is Pomaderus paniculata? Paniculata? Can't remember, but endemic to Northland, so it's not found anywhere else in the country, just up here in the far north. And I've got some flowers there, so it's pretty cool. And yeah, I think it's only really a kind of severe habitat type of species. I don't remember what you're supposed to call that, but a species that only really lives in these really unforgiving environments. So up the top of Mount Manaia seems to be perfect for it, or at least it's tolerant of these conditions. I wouldn't say that they like them, because the wind, I can't imagine anything enjoying that kind of wind. But yeah, I suppose these small, kind of thick leaves, and also quite hairy as well, helps prevent them from drying out in the extreme winds up here. So yeah, quite a cool species. Those hairs are kind of rubbing off onto my fingers. So that's in the Rhamnaceae family. And I did see some I was at the Auckland Botanic Gardens the other day, and I saw some really extreme looking species from the Rhamnaceae family that look nothing like this, that's for sure. I think it had no leaves, and it was just covered in these huge thorns. It's from Brazil, so it's pretty cool. Well, we've got here Manaia, not really sure how to pronounce that correctly, but it's Litzia calicaris, which is in the Laraceae family, so it's quite closely related to Belschmidia, the Tirade and Tawa, and also closely related to avocado, believe it or not. Pretty cool, these kind of like reddish, pink, purple leaves. Very distinct. There's a smaller one down here as well. Well, I've got a few species here that I'm not really sure exactly what they are. This one is a Pimelia species in the Pimelia genus, but I'm not sure which species it is, so I've posted it on iNaturalist. Hopefully we get an answer before I publish this video. And just around the corner here, or right here, right beside it, is this one. And I really don't know what it is. It's got these oblanceolate leaves, and the distal half of the leaf is very slightly serrated. The new growth is a light green, almost yellow. Older growth is quite a dark green. But yeah, it's alternating leaves, but it does have these kind of weird kind of stipules at the base. If I can zoom in, let's see if I can show that. So the stipules don't seem to be growing at the nodes where leaves are. They're just kind of there, but they are kind of like teeth-like structures. They look almost like coprosma stipules, but it's definitely not coprosma. Yeah, pretty funky. Not sure what it is, but again, posted on iNaturalist, so hopefully we get an answer. I'm quite intrigued as to what it might be, so yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully somebody is helpful. But yeah, we're at the top now, and this is where all the cool stuff seems to be. But I think I have already pointed out most of it to you, so I don't know. I think there's one or two more things that I want to show you, kind of at the end of this track, right at the lookout. There's some cool stuff there. Well, we've made it to the top. Got Marsden Point there, and then that goes in the harbour towards Whangarei City. Yeah, beautiful view, 360. On the other side, that's Ocean Beach, looking out east, out into the Pacific Ocean. And yeah, Bream Head. Beautiful. It is freezing up here though. Alright, we've got another orchid here. This one's an epiphytic orchid. It's growing off a totara tree here. You can see you've got a huge massive roots and stems all attaching to the side of the trunk. Pretty sure it's not a parasite, it's just kind of growing there, living off what it can from the surface. Yeah, so it's a orchid, Dendrobium cunninghamii. Common name is the Christmas orchid. I'm assuming that means that it flowers around Christmas time, but it's quite a lot of it growing around this tree. There's another one up here, another little one starting up there. We've got an Asteraceae species here. This is Helichrysum lanceolatum. It's a native to New Zealand, but this Helichrysum genus seems to be in many other countries as well, and it's extremely variable as well. So this one kind of just looks like a typical shrub. These pretty interesting looking little seed heads there, but there are some kind of smaller little herbaceous plants and whatnot. It's a very extremely variable genus within the Asteraceae family, of which is also an extremely variable family as well. Helichrysum lanceolatum. I'm not 100% sure why it's called lanceolatum, because I don't see anything that's lanceolate shaped on this species. It may be something to do with the flowers or the seed heads, not too sure. Okay, well the crazy thing about this adventure is that I started at around maybe 9 AM, maybe 8:30 in the morning, and it's now 3 PM. So I've been out here for I'm not really mathing right now, but I've been out here for quite a while. How many hours is that? 8:30, 9 o'clock, 3 plus 6 hours. This walk is meant to be a 2-hour return walk, but I've been finding plants every 5 steps, as I mentioned before. Time has gotten away from me. I haven't even had lunch yet. I brought a snack with me, but it's sitting in my car at the bottom of the mountain, so I'm gonna have to wait until I get down there to actually eat something. But that's the joys of being obsessed with plants, I guess. Lose track of time. Anywho, that's probably just about it for this video. Heading back down now, so probably won't see too many new things, except for the odd thing here and there that I missed on the way up. There is can't tell if that's Pterophila silvicola or Akama rosifolia, one or the other. Looks like Akama. Yeah, maka. Just as I was saying, I'd seen everything. Okay, well there seems to be lots of species that I've missed on the way back. We've got Carokia cotonista here. Almost thought it was a Coprosma spathulata or something at first, because it's got these long black spathulate petioles here, but the leaves are alternating and not opposite, so definitely not Coprosma. And yeah, quite a cool plant. Well, I think I'm going to do the outro here. Maybe I'll come across some more species further down, but almost tripped over. Yeah, so outro here. Thanks for watching. Pretty stoked that I came across the Well, hold on a second. Just spotted another plant. So this is a Dracophyllum, I think. Grass tree of some sort. Couldn't tell you which species it is, but definitely a Dracophyllum. So that's pretty cool. Such a funky species. Very nice. I'll make sure to ID that to the species level. I'll put that on the screen for you. Yeah, I believe this is also Ericaceae, so similar to the blueberry family, isn't it? So it's similar or related to the mingy-mingies that I showed you nearer the top. But this one grows into more of a tree. It's kind of a bit of a Dr. Seuss sort of plant. It's very cool. Anyways, outro. Yes, so I probably will come across some more plants on the way down, but I'll just kind of sneak them in before this outro if that happens. But yeah, thanks for watching. Pretty stoked that I found the Ramarama, the Lophomertus bullata. A bit sad that I don't get to see the Northland Horopito, but yeah, I was chatting to the guys that are looking after it. And he said that there's only like 150 or something plants left in the world. And of course all of those are in Northland. But yeah, so they're a little bit off the beaten track and their location is kept secret because they are so threatened and they don't want people coming in and poaching the plants or taking the seeds or anything like that. So yeah, bit of an unfortunate thing with that plant. Sounds like it's a climate change thing that's forcing it out of existence because they do prefer the colder, higher altitude areas, but as the climate warms, I mean, they've got nowhere left to go. The mountain's only so high, isn't it? Which is unfortunate, but yeah, so they've got nowhere to go. The only real option for them, if it does get too warm, is finding somewhere else that has a higher altitude for them to live in, which would be a translocation, but then that has to bring into consideration working with the local iwi and whatnot, because they may not want their plants being translocated to a different part of the country, because I don't think there's many other mountains up in Northland that would be high enough to be suitable. So it would have to be translocated to somewhere else in New Zealand where we have higher mountains that would still be suitable for the species. But then that kind of brings into question other ecological imbalances that it may bring up and whatnot. But yeah, but unfortunate. I'm sure I'll get to almost tripped over a rock there. I'm sure I'll get to see it someday, the Northland Horopito. Hopefully that doesn't go extinct, but yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. There's a beautiful view. Very nice. Alright, see you later. So I just found some supplejack berries, Ripogonum scandens. That's the viney plant that I mentioned or showed you before. Yeah, bright red fruit, so definitely bird dispersed, and they are technically edible. Wouldn't recommend it though. They taste dry. If dry was a taste, that's how they taste. Like, it's not just the texture, like they're not a dry texture, but the flavor is dry. It's hard to explain. I mean, you have to try it to find out. But yeah, not good. But technically edible, I suppose.